In this video, I will be discussing the true meaning of love, how it occurs emotionally and biologically, as well as how it changes. For as long as humans have existed, we have pondered the question that is, how does each individual demonstrate love? Scientists have now narrowed it down to 5 different love languages that give reasoning as to how each person demonstrates love and how they experience it. Author Dr. Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Love Languages. In his book, he provides his audience with a detailed description of each, as well as how they may or may not relate to one another. The first love language is words of affirmation. This type of love language is demonstrated when an individual expresses their feelings for someone by complimenting the other, and they are typically good at communicating their feelings. The second is acts of service. This could be something as little as doing the dishes so that the other person doesn't have to. It is the individual's way of showing the other how much they care about them. The third love language is giving. These types of lovers preferably buy gifts for their partners as a way of demonstrating their love and appreciation for them. The fourth is quality time. This means not only avoiding distractions, but also being an attentive listener and making time for your significant other as often as possible. The last of the 5 love languages is physical touch. People who express their love in this way show their affection through intimacy, and they typically have the desire for their partners to do the same. It is similar to words of affirmation, but rather than words, their love is expressed physically. There is one theory of love specifically that I have studied and would like to discuss. That is Sternberg's triangular theory. His theory suggests that love consists of 3 factors: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Along with these 3 factors come 7 different types of love, which are friendship, infatuation, empty love, romantic love, companionate love, fatuous love, and consummate love. Each of these types possess at least one of the 3 factors of love that I mentioned previously. Some of them even possess all of the 3 components. There is often much confusion, especially at the beginning of relationships, whether someone is in love or merely infatuated. The feelings are arguably identical, and it is often difficult for people to understand the difference. More often than not, people realize that they were only infatuated with a partner towards the end of their relationships, and these relationships often do not last long. When someone is truly in love, they are able to accept or even appreciate their partner's flaws. Each person accepts the other and will remain by their side because they have accepted all of their good and bad characteristics. This differs from infatuation because when someone is infatuated, they are blindly following their attraction towards someone, and inevitably they begin to notice the other person's flaws to a much higher extent. When this occurs, the attraction dissipates along with the relationship, and their feelings immediately take a turn for the worse. I believe that love is by far the most intriguing topic there ever was because true love withstands time, hardship, and sometimes even betrayal. If a couple finds themselves together for 50 years, their love and affection may change over time, but the companionship will last them a lifetime. The first 3 months of a relationship is known as the honeymoon phase, and with good reason. You are indulging yourself in a new person, learning new things about them, and possibly even about yourself. What truly matters is what is left of the relationship after the start of it. If a couple manages to stay together for a very long time, they will no longer seek the same aspects of their relationship as it once was. Instead, they are granted with companionship and security in knowing that the other will always be there to pick you up after they fall. The intense, intimate desire that an older couple once had will seem less significant after years of being by one another's sides. Intimacy is still important. It allows people to feel connected on a deeper level. But what happens when you know everything about your partner? After a long time, you've arguably lived the same lives and experienced the same things. There is no more curiosity, nothing more to learn, but that isn't so important in the long run. Certain things change over time, and that's okay, because you will always have the confidence in knowing that your partner has stuck by your side through it all. It is heavily argued that love is an emotional instinct that most people possess. While we'd like to believe that love comes from the heart, there is actually a logical, scientific reasoning behind it. The biochemicals in our brain allow us to feel dozens of different emotions. Whether you are depressed, exhilarated, nervous, or falling in love, everything you feel depends on the balance and creation of hormones and neurotransmitters in your brain. As you experience different emotions, these chemicals change. More specifically, someone who is falling in love will begin to produce a greater amount of dopamine, which allows one to feel pleasure. There will also be an abundance of norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter that affects your stress levels. If you've ever felt nervous or had butterflies in your stomach when meeting someone new, those feelings are a direct result of this brain chemical. Another hormone that is produced more is serotonin, which allows people to feel happiness. I would lastly like to mention that female and male brains work differently in these scenarios. Women are seen to have higher testosterone levels when falling in love. By contrast, men produce more estrogen. Both male and females possess some amount of each in their bodies, but what makes this especially interesting is that men have more testosterone and females have more estrogen. Testosterone in males is the reason behind facial hair, the lower voice tones, and other so-called manly bodily functions, whereas the estrogen produced in women causes their menstrual cycles, lesser amounts of facial hair, and overwhelming emotions. My theory is that our brains biologically shape themselves to be more like the other person we are falling in love with so that we can better connect with them and emotionally understand them. Overall, there are many different things that come into play when someone is falling in love. The theories that I discussed give some reasoning as to how each individual loves and expresses themselves. We've also learned more about the characteristics of love as it changes over time, as well as why it exists to begin with.